How's it going, FIFA fans? Undercover Nerd here, and welcome to what should really be Stream 4 of Season 4 in the Academy story. Unfortunately, due to time, I've literally, this weekend's been crazy, so I haven't really had any time whatsoever to stream. And so I spent last night, I was up till 1 o'clock, recording all of these games and the whole of January to make sure I could release something. But unfortunately, it means things are working a little bit differently. It is an episode, not a stream. And as we can gather, there's no mask cam, so hopefully we can live with that just for this episode. So just to give you a heads up of what's to come, we're going to be playing most of these games. We're playing the Newcastle game, and that Newcastle game is at home. We're going to be playing the Man City game. We've already played them once. We're playing the home game against Man City. We're going to be simming this game in the Emirates FA Cup against Brentford, and that's because we should really be winning that type of game. The West Ham game up next, and that's away from home. We're playing that one. And then the final game is Chelsea, and we will be playing that game also. So lots of game, hopefully lots of goals. We'll also be having a look at a few things in relation to transfers. Now, I did actually decide when it came to the players that we've actually got on loan at the moment. I quite like how we've been able to track these players are currently on loan. So, of course, we can see how Mamadov, Januzaj, Naj and everyone, how they're progressing throughout the season, because we know how it works with EA showing. It doesn't show basically other leagues, so you can't track here, you know, how many appearances, how many goals and whatnot, which is a little bit frustrating because we can see it for any loan player that's in the same league as us. So we can see Januzaj, for example, he's played 17 times, he's got 2 goals, 2 assists, and he's got an average of 6.3. So it's just a nice little insight really for us. It's a way of being able to track the loan players. So what I decided is that we use this opportunity in the January transfer window to recall some of these players and to reloan them back out to get them to Premier League teams. So we're going to do that with Kano first of all. We're going to just recall him, and we're also going to recall, well actually we're not going to recall, what we'll do is we'll wait for Bazaar. He's going to be loaned out the second we go into January the 1st. So I'm going to recall him because I reckon that we can probably get a Premier League club in for Bazaar, even though he's only at a 70. And then see now we get on near the end. I think Cooper's going to be quite difficult to loan out in the Premier League. I think I tried in the January transfer window and I couldn't get any Premier League clubs, but we'll see how we got on, and maybe we might get a Premier League club interested. But for the moment, we'll keep Cooper loaned out at Preston. But we'll just progress to the first day of the January transfer window, and then we got Newcastle. And yeah, we can see that it says Bazaar, so we're actually just going to bring Bazaar back. I know that's a bit strange perhaps for some people. But like I said, it's just because it's that inability not to be able to track them. So we're going to just recall him. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just loan them both back out. So we've got Kano, we're going to add him to the loan list. And then we'll go back down to Bazaar. And yeah, we just do the same with Bazaar here. We'll add him to the loan list. And hopefully we can get a couple of Premier League clubs interested in them both, so we can at least track them for the remainder of the season. And as I say, we'll play it by ear for Cooper at Preston. Perhaps near the end of the window, we give it a risk and see what comes of it. Taking a look at the league, and we can see to be fair, considering this is our first season in the Premier League, we're doing pretty well. We played 18 games, we've won 10, drawn 2, lost 6, but we're second. We're on 32 points, but it's close. It's really close. We've got Man City at the moment that are also on 32, Chelsea are on 31, Liverpool on 31, and Everton on 29, and then so is even Burnley's on 29, so it's incredibly close. That's only a 3-point difference between 7th and 2nd. Bournemouth look like they've got a pretty cushy lead. They're 4 points ahead of us. But yeah, we're doing incredibly well. I can't believe actually we're doing this well. Some surprises at the bottom at the moment. We can see Spurs and Arsenal tinkering around the relegation area. Also West Ham, that's not good for Cordoba. Bright, but I mean, this is how it sometimes goes in FIFAs. You seem to get some of the top teams that do get relegated. It's insane. Arsenal down there, and Spurs even. I can't imagine that ever happening, especially over the next couple of years or so. But you know, EA logic, we love it. So yeah, besides that, I think what we'll do for this, because it can end up being quite a long episode if we have a look at a lot of the highlights and stuff. So we're just going to focus on the goals and any kind of key things that happen in these games. We'll have a look at the sim game here, and then we'll have a nice little summary at the end in maybe the last hour of the January transfer window, so we know that all business is done. Now, of course, because this is an episode and not a stream, there is no Dice of Destiny. That will be coming in the next stream, which hopefully we'll start resuming that back on Monday again. And we have 4 Dice of Destiny, of course, for that. But this episode should be quite nice just to get through January, and it should set us up quite nicely then for February and the remainder of the season. Of course, we have got the World Cup coming at the end of this year, where we are with Iceland, and hopefully we can do all right there. But for now, let's have a look how we got on against all these teams in this January transfer window. So here we go. The first game, we are against Newcastle United. We are at home for this one, so you should hopefully expect big things. We fielded a team that I would say it isn't our first team. We can see that we decided to give Kano a bit of a run out, and that's because we're just waiting for him to be loaned back out to hopefully a Premier League side. But we can see the players there. I don't think there's any such thing as our weaker team, but perhaps just not all our strongest players. But I think a good balance for the team there. So we got off to a pretty fantastic start, and this was kind of expected. A nice little bit of link-up play, and then the ball falling to Daly, and a bit of a strange one really from the Newcastle player. Just going in, and it's kind of weak to be honest, but we'll take it. And it was Daly that stood up to take the penalty, and what a penalty it was. Beautifully taken, sent the goalkeeper the wrong way. And so it took me by surprise a little bit when I didn't realise it would be that nicely taken, but well taken by Daly. And we went 1-0 up. It didn't take long for us to have another bit of action, and it was another penalty. This one was a little bit strange again by the Newcastle goalkeeper, just going through the back of Daly, and it was a bit of a strange one. He stepped up again. Could he do the same thing? And the goalkeeper saved it. It wasn't long before Newcastle started to have a bit more of the ball, and they did come at us. And this is, to be honest, just sloppy defending. They just opened us up far too easy, and it was a little bit more of the same. They just carried on coming, and a little bit of a mix-up there between defenders. But ultimately, this comes off a bit of bad. You see the 2 defenders there getting caught up. It was like they were stuck on each other. Luckily enough, we were able to respond with a great ball from JJ into Daly to get his 2nd of the game. So it brought us level. And at this point, I thought 70 minutes in, I thought, yeah, happy days. We're probably going to go on and win this. Daly's playing fantastic. Of course, he missed the penalty, but we all miss penalties. You can't really fault that first penalty whatsoever. It was fantastic. And this, I mean, a massive credit to JJ here. That little beautiful ball in. But then, unfortunately, things didn't quite go the way we would have hoped. Newcastle just upped it massively. And then there was a huge mistake that just came from Ash, playing it into the middle of our area. Silly, and Newcastle walked away with it. So straight into the next game, and you can tell that I'm speaking over. This is his pre-match commentary. I'm not really used to it, so I want to do it in one take, because usually I would of course do the commentary over the matches, but because of time I had to record this at 1 o'clock, and of course I couldn't be talking at that time in the morning, because I do have neighbours. But this was after that result against Newcastle. We wanted to play a stronger team, and because it's against Man City, we were hoping that we could have a pretty similar result to the first game. The first game, of course, we won that, and it was, to be honest, it was relatively easy. I expected quite a bit from it, but oh my days, I did not expect such a freaking worldy goal. Now Draco, he just seems to bag these worldy goals. He scored one in pre-season. He scored one, actually, just the other day. It was beautiful. And this one, I think maybe the best of the bunch. An absolute fantastic ball over by Arne Bjornsson. And he took that so well on his left. And the goalkeeper, not probably expecting to connect like that. And we took the lead 1-0. And so it was positive early on. Man City did start to push at us, but it was relatively easy. We kept on picking the ball up, and it was sloppy mistakes by them. And this was just a fantastic bit of work by Draco. Played it in to Tiadady Jr. And it was a nice little turn he did, and he just popped it into Tiadady, and you can't really miss those centre of goal. And that made it 2-0. You can see it, just this nice little dink back into feet. Bish bash, happy days. It didn't take long for us to get another goal, and just some fantastic work by Draco, passing it into Prince to wrap things up for us. Of course, there was still time for another goal. And this was a superb finish by Goodmanson. Absolutely beautifully done. And it was easy. It was far too easy. 4-0. Yes, we're at home, but we shouldn't be beating Man City 4-0. And to be fair, we didn't. They ended up getting a nice goal through Zaha in the end, and it ended 4-1. But all in all, a relatively easy game. Not what you would actually expect against some of the likes of Man City, their type of calibre. But we'll take the 3 points. So the next game, we were in the Emirates FA Cup, and we were against Brentford. We were at home. We shouldn't have had any dramas here. We fielded a relatively strong team, but we rested quite a few players as well. Daly got us on the score sheet straight away, 9 minutes in. Camper picked up an injury. We'll see what that injury was in a second, but that was a little bit worrying to see what that was going to come back as. We like our injuries, and recently they've been quite long. So I was pretty worried about that. It was a relatively, not really a lot happened in the game. Goodmanson ended up sealing it for us, and we got the 2-0 win. And we went straight to check out what the injury was, and it was okay. It was only 7 days for Camper, so it was all good there. We went straight into the next game, and it was West Ham against ourselves. And this was a game that, of course, it was important to us, but we were playing against Cordoba. We know West Ham are bottom of the league as well. So I kind of had quite high expectations for this game, just based on West Ham being at the bottom of the table. I was hoping Cordoba would have a good game, but I was hoping he wouldn't have such a good game that he would, you know, beat us basically. But it's good to see our players performing well. We can see the players there. It is a strong team. And to be fair, this game was it was such a fun game to play. Straight away, we saw Audrey picking out little Aurora there. And from a great run by Jesus. And Aurora got on the score sheet straight away. And this little lad, wow, did he have a game. He was all over the place. He was more or less unplayable. Jesus played the ball into, that was Audrey there, and straight away gets into Aurora again. Gets into, Aurora again. And Aurora puts that away nicely and making that 2 goals. So within 15 minutes into the game, Aurora was 2 goals to the good, and we were 2-0 up. Classy. That little, he just kind of like dropped the shoulder, and the defender was completely taken out there. But a pretty nice finish. But it got better, the guys. Seriously, like Audrey was all over the place as well. He was unplayable. And look at this from Aurora. This is football. Nice bit of skill, and swings the ball in beautifully for Jesus. Jesus gets on the score sheet, and Aurora picks up an assist. So he's got himself 2 goals and an assist in this game already. And I mean, look at the replay of this. It was amazing. He just took those 2 players out, swung his left foot at it, and Jesus, who's not massively tall, manages to get it in with his head. Fortunately for Cordoba, he was able to get himself a consolidation goal, really. Nothing more than that at this point, 81 minutes into the game. But things weren't wrapped up just then. We went on to have a corner again by Aurora, picking out Diaz, and the ball rattled the top left corner of the net. And this is funny. Look at this, guys. Diaz and Aurora having a little hug. It's the shortest person on the pitch with basically one of the biggest on the pitch. But Aurora getting himself 2 goals and 2 assists, which is absolutely phenomenal. Like I say, he was unplayable in this game. And we still had time for 1 more goal. Sakara making a great tackle. And JJ into Weaver. And how else would Weaver finish this? But a nice little cheeky chip. It's how he had that. It was the goal of the season. Last season, it was an amazing goal. And very, very similar. A nice chip, very well composed. And the game ended up being 5-1. So an absolute thrashing we gave West Ham. But the goals, I mean, the way the team played was absolutely amazing. I think that's just the pick of the bunch there. The last goal coming from Weaver just kind of summed up our performance. Just chilled, relaxed, and never in doubt, to be fair. So the next game then, it was ourselves, and we were coming up against the Blues, Chelsea. And I had high expectations for this game. We fielded a pretty strong team, to be honest. And I thought this would be, because the first game we played against Chelsea was incredibly tough. And so with that in mind, we did go for pretty much our strongest team. So we had Louise in goal, we had Clark, Kai and Diaz, Bjornson as a holding midfielder there. And then we had Aurora, Sakara, Camper and Prince. And then we went for 2 strikers, and that's because I thought how it went last time, it was a very attacking game from both teams. And I thought if we need to go out positive, if we want to get anything here. And straight away, Aurora again, finding Prince. So this, I mean, Aurora is on absolute fire. And this was actually a really well-worked goal. When you see what Prince does, the ball's played into him, and he doesn't lash at it. He takes that touch, first of all. And we'll see now, so Aurora picks up, nicely done, just kind of cross the box there, boom. Prince takes that touch into feet, and he has enough time just to curl his foot around it. It's beautifully taken. And the golden boot lad with his golden boots there, getting another goal. And this one, another great goal. And guess who gets it? Only Aurora. It was our Arnie Bjornsson who took the free kick. And I think a little bit of luck, to be fair, a little bit of luck when it came to how it kind of fell in the box. But you have to be there to attack the ball. And Aurora was again. So, I mean, for this episode for Aurora, I mean, these games, he was just superb. I couldn't quite work out if it was Gudmundsson that got the header there or if it was a defender. But nonetheless, Aurora finishing with complete confidence. We just kept on coming at Chelsea, and this was silly. It was a pretty silly tackle to make. Should have just held him off, and we end up getting a penalty. And although Dady missed the last penalty, he decided he wanted to take this one. And much similar to the first penalty that he scored, it was more or less identical. Perhaps that one was actually a little bit more in the corner. And he made it a very confident 2-0. So things were happy days very early on. And as we can see here, sorry, that was 3-0. So as we can see here, 3-0 against Chelsea, 29 minutes in. And Morata was able to pick one back for them. It was a pretty decent ball into them. But again, at this point, as we can see now, 80 minutes in, it was nothing more than a consolidation goal. And we were still able to get another goal, and just silly defending by Chelsea there into Gudmundsson. And Gudmundsson with an absolute beautiful finish. Absolutely rocketed this, and it's similar to the goal he got in the game previous. So a pretty solid performance, to be honest. And the streak kind of continued. Lots of goals, and teams that we thought we'd kind of struggle against, it seems that we really didn't. Final game then, we ended up going, because we progressed in the Emirates FA Cup, we ended up getting Norwich, and we simmed this game because we were at home, and I figured that we should be beating Norwich. Camper got us on the score sheet early on. And again, it was, at the moment, Sims can either go one or two ways. You either find they're really kind of exciting, there's like injuries, reds, yellows, lots of goals, or they're very slow pace, and that's really what this game was. We were able to get the second goal through Gudmundsson, and it finished at 2-0, getting us through. So here we are on transfer deadline day then, and it's been pretty good in terms of results. We thrashed Chelsea 4-1, thrashed West Ham 5-1, of course the sim against Brentford. We played Man City 1-4-1. Newcastle was the only shock really. We lost that 3-2, and they played incredibly well. And then of course that sim that we did against Norwich where we won 2-0. So overall pretty successful. What also is very successful is of course that we were able to loan out the players to Premier League clubs, which is fantastic. We got Enrique Kano going to Crystal Palace, which should be quite interesting. We've got the boy Bazaar, who surprisingly is now with Bournemouth, considering how high they are. Surprised they had any interest. And we're even lucky enough to get Tottenham interested in Cooper. Don't know how much game time he's going to get, but at least now we can see all our loan players for the remainder of the season, apart from Hughes. But Hughes, I think we kind of resided to the fact that he's likely to be sold beginning of next season. But you never know. It depends on how pre-season goes. We have, of course, got the scout reports back as well. We got them back on today. And we're not going to have a look at them. We're going to have a look at that beginning of the next stream. To see if we've got lucky with some decent players, but yeah, we just have to wait and see about that. In the next stream also, we'll be checking out all the stats of players, see how they got on over the last month. We'll be looking at things like golden boot and max assist, see if any of our players are in line for that. But yeah, we got a lot to look forward to the next stream. As I said, 4 Dice of Destiny should be pretty sweet as well. But besides that, guys, if you did like this video, if you give it a thumbs up, that'd be amazing. And if we can get 100 likes, then we should be all good to go for the stream tomorrow, which is Monday. But if not, we'll go for Tuesday. Happy days. Thank you very much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take it easy.